Welcome back to Arsenic Culture. I'm Matt.
Jason.
I'm Jeff.
We have one of the most sought-after bourbons that you could not get in the United States until now.
That seems pretty discriminatory.
For United Statesians.
We're the imperialists. Like, we should be able to get everything.
I know, we should, but we haven't.
The world is our oyster.
So we have... most people are familiar with Blanton's bourbon. This is a variation of that one called Straight from the Barrel. And I take it is taken straight from the barrel.
That is correct. Isn't that an NWA album? Straight from the Barrel?
I don't know.
Straight out of the barrel.
Straight out of the barrel. I'm a drinker with a gun. Gonna have some fun.
So I think everybody has seen Blantons before. Got a cool topper on them, and then the horse run the race, and it actually spells Blantons out. So if you look at the little letters there, it's got all the letters spelling them out. If you do get all these toppers, you can send those back to Buffalo Trace, and they'll actually give you a stave and put them in there for you. So that's pretty cool.
I've seen those. Yeah. I did not realize that was actually done at the distillery.
I just take mine and I play horsey on the carpet with them.
You use them for butt plugs, don't you?
But the rare one, Jeff, like this one's facing left. If you find the one facing right, that's the rare one.
Is that like a Willy Wonka thing?
Yeah, sure.
Now you own the factory?
Sure.
That would be nice. I would accept that golden ticket.
Or you can just turn it around.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with the one we're talking about today is Straight from the Barrel. So barrel strength, we've talked about this before in other bourbons. Regular Blanton's is 93 proof, and we'll get into this one in just a minute. Each one of these will be a little different, each release. But I thought
one of the straights from the barrel.
So they've actually done these several times. I think it's twice a year they do these. Could be a little off. So another thing, this is not done in the U.S. So these were exported. I think these started in. It doesn't say, but let's talk about the regular Blantons and then we'll get into that one just a little.
Sounds good.
So history-wise, Blanton started in 1984. It was the first single-barrel bourbon, allegedly. One thing with bourbon history, there's a whole lot of storytelling. So you don't really know if it's true or not.
I found this recipe in my grandfather's attic.
That is exactly. There's some books on there I've read before. I've actually read. I know you might not believe that.
You've read the comic pages.
I have. I've looked at picture books. Picture books.
Picture pages.
The ones that you can color in. They come with coloring pencils. Yeah, those are fun.
So get you a little pour of this one. All Blantons is going to be single barrel. This one's a Liquor Barn store pick, a few years old. This is one I just had open, so I figured we would try this.
So this is the regular. I say run of the mill, but I mean, Blanton's is a fantastic bourbon in and of itself.
Well, this one's American.
This one is American.
It's pronounced Merkin.
It's Merkin. Buy it in Merkin. Is my microphone on?
It is.
Can you hear me?
I can hear me now.
I can hear you.
I can hear you
really well.
Can you hear me now?
We can turn it off. That's fine.
Yeah.
Sometimes you guys turn my mic off, and I just want to make sure.
Just a few times every episode.
I think it was an entire episode once.
Maybe a couple. Pass that over there.
Got our buddy Jordan over here skulking in the shadows.
All right, so let's go back to a little history on this one. So Blanton's is from Buffalo Trace. I think everybody's heard of Buffalo Trace if you know bourbon at all. Pretty big hype around that right now. Everything's allocated from them. So Blanton's used to sit on the shelves. You don't really see it anymore. So again, started in 1984, billed as the first single barrel bourbon ever. Elmer T. Lee, if you've ever heard that name, there's a bourbon called Elmer T. Lee. You heard of that one, Jeff?
He used to chase that bunny around.
That was him.
That was him.
Elmer T. Lee Fudd, I think. But so Elmer T. Lee was the master distiller there at Buffalo Trace, and he was the one that actually made this one. So a year or two before he retired, he developed Blanton's in 84.
And when you say, just to go back for a layman or somebody that doesn't understand, when you say something is allocated, that means that they basically dictate who gets how many bottles, because the idea is it's going to sell out instantly, correct?
So when you see a lot of demand for a product, when you're talking allocated for bourbon, it's usually if you own a store and you have to sell X amount of our product to be able to buy X amount of these allocated bottles, the better bottles.
Exactly right. Okay.
So with this one, Blanton's used to not be allocated, but it was. So we want to try this one. This is 93 proof, 6 to 8 years old. There's no real.
Bought one of these when it came out.
Yeah, I'm sure you have now. Not the straight from the barrel.
No, the Liquor Barn pick.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think when it came out, I bought a bottle.
Okay,
so with these,
take a little sip. So go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so with these barrel picks, everybody that's watching, not listening, this is actually a Liquor Barn pick. Liquor Barn is a local liquor store, and it's got a big sticker on it. That means that here, sorry, they actually. Somebody there actually goes and specifically gets to taste which barrel they want to sell in their stores, and they put their little logo on it. And that's pretty common.
It is
for most of these stores, right?
Well, and what you'll see now is not just with Blanton's. I don't know that I've ever seen they'll call them a tater sticker or waxed or something like that to make it more desirable, flashy. But when people do picks, I've never seen like Liquor Barn or anybody do it on the Blanton's. But that's how you kind of know that they're single barrels. So this is a single barrel bourbon anyway, but this one was picked by Liquor Barn.
Right.
Now, one thing about Liquor Barn, even though it's a bigger store here in the Lexington, Kentucky area, their picks are very good. Whoever does their picks, shout out to you. You do a hell of a job.
I think it's Larry.
Larry the cable guy.
No, Larry the guy who cleans their men's room. He's the guy.
He's got a great palate for sure.
He pulls out some reason the toilet wand and he's like, "Hold on, give me a second." He
cannot move up the hierarchy in that company.
So you talked about palate. So what are you getting from this one, Jeff? What
I'm
are you
getting
picking out?
apple, baking spice.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not getting that?
Yeah, maybe a little. What are you getting there, Matt?
I get like a hint of spice. I don't. It's not very. I like to. When I think of spice, I like to think of like rye. I don't get a lot of rye, obviously, but I almost get something close to that where it's got like a pretty strong spice quotient to it. Sure. But very full flavor. It's actually got a really strong body on it. And what was the proof on this one?
93.
93. Okay.
But it's pretty easy drinking for that.
Yeah, right? It is. And this is,
it's tasty.
Most people that have had bourbon have had this and know that it's a fantastic pour no matter what you get.
So yeah, I get a little maybe darker fruit, just a little bit. I do get some bacon spice on there as well. This is their higher rye recipe, so this is their mash bill number 2. So some other bourbons that you've probably heard of or had that have that same mash bill got Ancient Age, Elmer T. Lee, Rock Hill Farm, and then Hancock's Reserve. So all those would have this same mash bill. So that
explains some of the higher spice notes.
Exactly. Okay. So I think it's easy drinking. I think secondary on these, I think now they're looking at 100, 110, 120. Really? It's crazy.
Wasn't like a $65 bottle off the shelf?
I think when I first started buying these, they were like 45.
Yeah.
Now I think they're 65, 70
right now. So,
range. I mean, for that price, I'm probably, 65, 70 for me for this one. I don't know. I might have one bottle because it looks cool just to have on my shelf. But
it's a great bottle to keep around.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also, you can play with those horses on your carpet. Yeah. Pretend like you're doing the derby. Come on.
Come
on, toilet's clogged. Come on, toilet's clogged.
Left-facing one. Beat the right-facing one.
So seriously, though.
Come on, my mother never loved me.
What is pretty cool about them when you line them up, if you've seen them, Jeff, it's like the horse race. So it's almost like it's animated, right?
Right.
And at the end, it's kind of like stretching out, winning. So it's pretty cool when you do line them up. But enough about that one. So let's move on to the straight from the barrel. Okay?
All right.
Should we get more glasses or just like shoot this?
I'll just shoot that.
I mean, I did a small pour.
Me too.
We can fast
Don't
forward.
do this at home. Be an expert. We're experts. We're professionals.
We're expert drinkers.
We're professionals. If you're learning how to drink bourbon, do not drink this quickly.
So when you're looking at the box of this, getting it unboxed, well, they put this in there to ship it. So this came from overseas. It's like a foam piece.
So straight from the barrel up until, what was it, last year?
Yep.
This was made for overseas market only.
Correct.
They didn't sell this in the United States. Do you know why?
I don't. And there's a few other ones they do over there too. They do a red, a black.
They do a gold too.
Gold. The gold's in the U.S. as well.
Okay.
But the red and black are not.
Those
They've
are
also done some
only.
other special editions, silver, some different things.
Yeah.
Four Roses does the same stuff.
Okay. But yeah, for the longest time, we actually, a few years ago, we had a local group and we did a group order for this and we almost bought them out. some
think we
online liquor store in Norway, and we bought 2 cases of this stuff.
It was shipped from Norway?
Yeah. And the guy just sent it to us, and we got a good deal. I mean, it was like $65 a bottle back then, you know?
From Norway?
Yeah.
Because Norway alcohol is pretty heavily taxed.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he forgot to charge us shipping. So I was just like, this is a really good
Don't
deal.
tell him. Don't tell him.
I know.
Like a beer in Norway costs like $15 draft or something.
Yeah.
It's really expensive.
So I almost said something to him, but I was like, we had the whole logistics of the group, and I think everybody was a lot happier. I was trying to appease the group rather than that one guy. But he sent this, and then we distributed it, and I still got left my bottle. I went back to him like last year, and I was like, hey man, thanks for that order a few years ago. I'm ready to put in another order, and it's like, crickets. And I messaged him again. He's like, he just ignored me. He's like, no,
so speaking of that though, so $60 back then, was it 3-4 years ago?
Yeah.
I just bought one of these recently, and honestly, it's a pretty good deal now. It's 180 shipped.
Wow. Okay.
Where are you shipping this from Europe?
Actually, I didn't do it. My friend got them. He said, "Do you want one for 180?" I'm like, "Yeah," because if you look secondary, the cheapest I can get one of these 250.
Well, where's he shipping? Where's he shipping from?
I didn't ask him. I didn't check his
is it
ID.
Norway?
I didn't see if he has papers in order.
I'm just curious. Is it from Italy? Is it from France?
I literally have no idea. My buddy texted me and said, "Do you want it straight from the barrel for 180?" I said, "Yes."
Yeah.
That's all I need
I don't
to
think
hear.
you ask questions. I think you just say, okay.
Nah. It fell off a truck in Norway. I don't know. So, looking at the comparison of bottles, what do you think label wise? Which one do you like better? I mean, you see the differences.
I prefer the American because I'm American. I prefer the American label.
America.
It's got more of the crafts look to it.
Like our artisanal look.
Yeah, artisanal look.
I can help you with words whenever you need. Just let me know.
English
I got
is
a
not my
big
first
vocabulary,
language.
too.
Norwegian is my first language.
So I agree with that. I mean, you think for the top tier for me, straight from the barrel proof on this one, you think they'd jazz up that label a little bit. Maybe they will for the U.S. release. I haven't seen a bottle that's been released in the U.S. Now, this one is a 700 milliliter bottle.
Have you had
This one's 750.
Have you had the red or the gold or the black?
I have. We got to try those.
I'm wondering if their labels are the same because they put so much information on the other side.
They're a little different. They're more similar to this than that, but a little different.
If that was the case, it could just be a matter of them having the custom labels because these are very different products, even in the same batch release.
And the same with Four Roses. They do a couple like a black label and then a
Right.
super premium kind of thing over there. So
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about it a little bit, so let's look at it for sure. So this was dumped on November 2017. So tentatively, it's 6 to 8 years old. Let's say it's 7 years old, just in the middle. So probably barreled in 2010. And then from this, it tells you the barrel number, the warehouse, the RIC number, and then the proof. So this one's 131.4. This one's 93.
Wow.
Okay.
Huge
You want to get
difference.
a close up on that one?
So that's the
Huge
whole intent
difference.
behind
Huge difference.
straight from the barrel. Is that it's
Is
like
that
so-
why you think the color is so much darker?
Yep. So if you think about it, when you get a lower proof bourbon, in my opinion, you're kind of getting cheated if you think about it, right? So if I had that bottle, I can dilute it down to 93.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? But if I got this one, I can't make it higher. I mean, unless I add something to it, probably makes it taste awful. But so let's crack this thing.
dude.
So
Get it.
these are notorious for cracking through the wax. They're kind of cheaply made. You can see it there. But here we go. We'll bring it in tight to the mic.
Just
Hear that crack?
destroy it.
Yeah,
We can-
Barbie doll, you could put this on their head like a crown and play, Kingdom.
You can play Jesus.
So another thing with the darker color, I think we've talked about before is NCF. Have you heard that before?
NCF, is that not safe for viewing?
That's no, because there's no S in there. It's an NCF.
That's not how you spell
Not
it. Not safe for viewing.
not capable for
You don't spell safe with a
not
C.
capable for what?
Spelling bee champions, we is not.
I do have a PhD in English.
I went a little bit heavy on that.
Yeah, good luck with that one. So with
Smells
NCF, it's non-chill filtered. So what they're going to do is there's going to be a little more. A lot of people think there's more legs on it, more body. It's more viscous. And Matt, have you been on a barrel pick with us?
No, I
I
tried to
invited
go.
either, so I don't
Yeah,
know.
we're not inviting
I
Jeff.
set up a barrel pick and I couldn't go, so don't.
I went to your
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you
you
very
wanna go to my
much. Thank you
place,
very
yeah.
much. That was
So,
an
yeah.
awesome barrel pick. But so that was the first one I'd been on. That was a Four Roses, and what they'll do is they take a thief, a whiskey thief. So it's like a tube you put down in the barrel, put your finger over it, just kind of siphon it out. So you'll get char, things like that, and it's a different.
That's different.
Oh yeah,
That is very different.
sure. So again, I mean, it's going to be hot. I'm sure, because it's 131 proof,
Yeah.
but you can water this down and still get it between where you want it. Right. This is my favorite Blanton's. I'm not going to spoil it, but so what are y'all thinking? Yeah.
Well, having tried this before, I think this might be in my top 10.
You've had this one before.
We got to order a few years back.
Yeah. I think this is great.
This might be in my top 10. So it's a little hot, and we talked about that. That's that's in its nature. But like the body on this one, and then just like the flavor profile on this one, I think is just it's just amazing, like all around. I don't think you can go wrong with this.
This is one of my favorite products from Buffalo Trace. I mean, I love the antique collection, a lot of those things, but I love Stag. But I mean, for Blanton's, there's been talk. People have always asked, like, why isn't this in the antique collection? Like, age it a little longer, release it at barrel strength, like release this at 10 years old.
Makes me angry
that we didn't get this shit before.
But this goes to the freaking French, and those freaking Italians and Greeks.
But do you?
No offense to those
so good point though. Do you know why it went over there? All these places were exporting
because they pay for it.
Well, that's one reason. I think they paid. Yeah. But the time that they started exporting, the U.S. market did not want it.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah.
So at that point in time, we were wanting like Crown Royal. We wanted blended whiskeys.
The bourbon revolution in America is not that old.
No, I mean they had it. Back in the day, I guess, but even then, I don't know how popular it was. I think people just wanted to get drunk.
Well, we were talking about this a second ago. Yeah. Like a few years ago, going to maybe in 2016, going to Liquor Barn and finding this, sitting on the counter.
Oh, no, this would be on the shelf in 2018. I remember getting
the barrel pick on the sitting on the counter.
Well, the barrel pick. I'm saying the regular.
Oh, the regular.
You could just find it.
But just a few years ago, a lot of this stuff was. Even when I moved to Kentucky, you could buy Weller pretty easily.
Yeah.
And of course, so we're looking at maybe last 7 to 10 years. People still weren't really buying bourbon in America. And like you're saying, they were buying it in Europe and in China and Japan. So, that's why it goes to Europe, but obviously not to us.
Well, I remember, and then another reason why, too, is a lot of the big, like, umbrella companies are based over there, right?
So how long ago do you think it was that people started to really appreciate bourbon for what it is, and not want just like the best bang for your buck aspect of it, but wanted like something that they could actually enjoy and appreciate?
Well, I want to preface by saying I'm not some guy that's been in bourbon for 50 years. Right. I mean, I'm newer to it as well. 10 years. I don't know, but if you look at, and I've only taken a serious interest in it, I would say in the last 7, 8. So looking at that, even the demand you see now, like you'll be in line with somebody at Liquor Barn or any distillery, and they don't even know what the hell they're buying
because they're flipping, right?
I don't. Some of them just want a pretty bottle. No. Like I think that's why Blanton's is so popular. That's a pretty cool bottle.
Tanya, right? Play with those horses.
If you watch John Wick, he's drinking Blanton's.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
So I mean, I think it's just cool bottle to have and just show your friends. So when do I think bourbon got really popular? I would say 2016 is kind of when it started like really going over the edge.
Yeah.
Because I remember in 2016, I could get Elmer T. Lee without too much of a headache.
Right.
And then you could get, I remember standing in line at Liquor Barn, and I think it was 2016. I got there 30 minutes before they opened, I walked in and got an Old Forester birthday bourbon. Mm-hmm. There's no way in hell you get that today.
Yeah.
It's
unless you're in one of these lotteries that they do.
It's a lottery. Or unless you know 10 people that knows, you know what I mean? It's just crazy.
Beer is stupid popular right now too, but it wasn't always like that either. It's a little bit harder to pinpoint, I think, for us, just because we've always kind of been into beer. But when do you think beer took off? Not like to where breweries were, getting good sales, because Stone has really always done really good. Well, past the 80s, they've started to do really well, but to the point to where people were lining up for beer.
So let's say Dark Lord, for example. I mean, just start Dark Lord.
Perfect example. Dark Lord out of
Munster, Indiana.
Three Floyds.
Close to Chicago.
So in the beginning, Dark Lord Day, of course, was just a handful of people hanging out in the brewery,
and that started that was like, what was the first one? Mid 2000s.
Okay, was that 2006 or so, maybe. And by the ticket sales stuff, maybe 2009 or 10, they started doing tickets. Because when I went to Dark Lord, the first couple times there were no tickets; you just showed up.
Right.
and now it's a very different thing. But yeah, so stuff like that. Even locally, we've seen, we have a couple local breweries when they first started doing their barrel aged stuff. People would line up because there was that kind of hype. But then we see the fruit stuff with 450. People are lining up for it. The only thing with haze I can think people lining up for, because they don't have distribution, would be stuff in the last 4 or 5 years, Monkish or Treehouse.
So I'm going to say, I think beer turned the corner in maybe 18, 17.
To where it just kind of blew up.
Yeah. Well, it's just really hard to get.
Yeah.
Beer is still fairly accessible, unless you're talking about like some rare side project stout that people have to buy online and then go
It'd be
get.
good if we could try one soon.
Yeah, but we've never had one.
No,
of
we've
those.
never had one of those. We'll never get that.
So maybe like those side project releases remain the kind of more rare stuff.
Yeah. What I'm trying to do, though, is I'm trying to establish a timeline here. So Blanton's Bourbon, prior to 2014-ish or whatever, most Americans were really interested in getting alcohol that had, the most alcohol for the least amount of money. So stuff like Budweiser, Crown Royal, like you said, were the most popular picks because you could get drunk and you didn't have to spend a lot. Natty Light was like the way to go. It's beer and bourbon, and it's a lot of other things. It's not just alcohol. I think it was like the American like preference, and then in the mid-teens, you started to see this shift in maybe economics, not like financial, but just like the way people were starting to make decisions, to where it wasn't about the best bang for your buck. It's about like enjoying what you
prestige,
have. It's
investment,
about,
showpiece.
And it's even about like maybe local or like artisanal or like, getting something that somebody put their heart and soul into and you can really appreciate. And then it goes even deeper when you talk about, in bourbon, people have these stories, people love stories. It's you buy a recipe of something or a pick or something like that. Part of what they're paying for is that story, and then they like to brag about it and say,
that's true.
Yeah,
across the board.
And I think that started around in the mid-teens, and I think it's just like a shift in American.
Well, they appreciate them more.
Yeah,
yeah.
But you see, like everything is now like buy local, buy artisanal. It's like 20 years ago, going out of your way to get like a nice sandwich from like a local shop in Versailles or something was stupid.
Subway.
You just go
Subway.
Yeah, exactly. You just go Subway because it was easier.
Subway, they are sandwich artists.
Sure,
that's what they call the people who make the sandwiches.
Yeah, but I think the entire society has like shifted. It's not bourbon and it's not beer. I think it's everything. It's like it's just the way we like think of stuff.
It's interesting you say that too. It's almost like it's came in waves, because I did some research on Blanton's just itself. So when it was invented, it's named after Colonel Albert B. Blanton. He was the distillery president at what is now Buffalo Trace.
Right.
So Elmer T. Lee would see him. Elmer T. Lee was just helping. Like, he was the one that hired him before he was master distiller or anything. So he would see Albert B. Blanton picking these honey barrels from a warehouse called Warehouse H. He would pick them from the center, and then he would bring them out and bottle them for people that came and visit, like dignitaries.
Yeah.
So he would give them this great barrel. So that's the reason Elmer T. Lee, in his mind, that story was, I want to make Blanton's so I can like pay homage to that process, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the difference with that Warehouse H is it's metal. They built it quickly, but so when demand went up, they built it quickly because they couldn't make it out of brick or whatever, in the time constraints.
Yeah.
So what they found out with the metal warehouse is the temperature is just crazy, right? It's changing more, so it's giving them more flavors in that. Bourbon.
Right. Yeah.
Plus,
it's
again,
room to breathe and move.
It's metal.
That's my jam. That's my jam. We need to do a metal episode.
We do.
But yeah, everything that we buy, is it shifted from getting Crown Royal to trying to find the bottle of Blanton's to standing in line.
Bourbon right now is based on the model of scarcity and rare. I mean,
Well, that's my point.
Yeah.
Everything is.
It's
beer is, bourbon is. You look at my wife upstairs. 10, 15,
rare?
20 years ago, it's like,
that's true.
we look at the soap on our counter and it was like Dove or whatever you can get in a fucking 10-pack at Walmart,
Good point.
I still use Dove.
And now she goes to
bar. I don't use bar.
She goes to a place called Buff City Soap.
Yep.
I don't know if you've heard of this.
My wife does too.
And apparently this is like a big thing.
Buff City Soap?
Yeah, exactly.
Where's Buff City? Is that in Kentucky?
There's like a few places.
It's right here. She goes and she buys these special artisanal soaps. It's not just alcohol; it's everything we do, and it's not just us. It's everybody.
Grown?
That's exactly right. people are asking these questions now.
Like,
you know?
how is your soap raised?
Yeah, nobody fucking cared about high
free
fructose
range?
corn syrup 10 years ago.
It makes me wonder though, if you go to a restaurant, is this steak, was this cow grass fed? They're just like, sure. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Oh yeah, it was. They have no idea.
Yeah.
Did they just say it?
You remember when like unsalted grass-fed butter became
Yes.
popular?
Yeah.
That was
No, I
probably
don't.
what, like 5 years ago
I
or
don't
something like
remember.
that. Oh
I buy
yeah.
salted. No, wait.
You don't buy salted butter, do you?
I buy salted butter.
No, I don't.
No, I buy unsalted butter.
Yeah, you always
Yeah,
like, because then we can season the way you want it.
I buy
Exactly.
unsalted butter.
Well,
Exactly
it got popular
right.
too with it. What was that coffee they called it? It's
Yeah,
like
bulletproof coffee.
Yeah, putting it in there. So
Yeah. But coffee's another great example of like
Yep.
people going out of the way to get really good coffee. You were talking about this earlier, like the whole process of grinding it down and geting these fucking Ethiopian beans
I don't
from
know why
like a
anybody buys coffee in a can. It's gross.
the coffee
drink
that you
it.
can buy that's like made from like civet shit. It's
Yeah,
it's like cooked out by
that's
like a
the
roast.
weasel.
what do they call
But
that?
you know, when
what do
I-
they call that?
Yeah, but when I was in Vietnam, I saw that coffee's everywhere.
Kopi Luwak.
But they also warn you that
Thanks, Jordan.
most of it's fake.
Yeah, I know, but
Yeah.
my point is
So
like
just human shit instead of
Yeah,
whatever.
it's not really weasel shit.
nobody cared about
They
it.
have humans eating.
Didn't McKellar did that beer
Yeah.
with that? Remember they did
Yeah,
that
I
think
brunch
so, yeah.
weasel or
Weasel,
something?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but nobody
It's good.
Nobody cared about it until recently because it's part of this
Sure.
whole like prestige thing of getting something that's hard to get.
It's just cycled back through though. If you look at like history, if you read these bourbon history books, it's pretty neat. And now we're kind of getting back to that. Everything's a story, right?
Yeah.
Like everything's a
Yeah.
story.
Every
I love
picture
it.
tells
I
a story.
fucking love it.
That's
Yeah.
what Rod
I do
Stewart told
too.
us.
I think it's cool for sure. So let's talk a little bit secondary. We usually do. So this bottle right now, it's going on sale in the U.S. I've not seen one in the U.S., but they are evidently. It's $150 MSRP.
Oh,
That's-
really?
Yeah, for
Oh,
U.S. market.
God. Okay. I
Yeah,
didn't-
so it's went up quite. We've never been released in the U.S.
Yeah.
They know they can make money on it.
Wow.
So $150 cost. I paid $180 recently for a bottle. I've had this one for a while, but secondary $250-ish. So
Yeah.
really, if it's $150 to find it and $250 to get it any time, it's not too big of a
I would have thought
difference.
the secondary was going to be much higher.
Well, it will probably. I mean, if you want to see something exploding right now, but more than whatever the latest coin is,
Yeah.
it's bourbon. I mean,
Dogecoin.
every time you think it's going to top out, 10% higher.
Right.
Like it's insane.
You know, I'm waiting for seltzer to go this route.
Just regular seltzer.
The
Just like
secondary on
regular.
seltzer would be
Just like
insane. It
What about,
costs,
what about bottled
it
water?
costs
You think we can get bottled water
now
there?
Now it's $20.
Yeah.
yeah. That's the game to be in.
So for $150, would you pay $150 for this bottle, Jeff?
Unless it was, you know what? If I was going to hold it for special occasions, and
I
maybe-
mean, so for
yeah.
example, the first bottle I had this lasted me 5 years.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm putting that aside.
Yep.
And when anybody but you comes over,
I'm gonna drink it all.
But yeah, that first. But listen, I think that's a good investment for special occasions and for impressing. People come over, you're like, hey man, you want to try some serious shit?
Okay, so
Bring
not
that
even
out.
just a good investment though. I think we all enjoyed it,
Well,
right?
for
We'll
impressing,
say that
for impressing
Yeah,
people.
It was good.
Or chicks.
Yeah.
Chicks,
or your mom.
Or your mom.
chicks, big scars,
I want to
and
impress
bourbon.
your mom.
Yeah.
So Matt, what do you think? $150? Would you pay it?
Yeah, for retail,
Okay.
if I came across one, I
Yeah.
would just, again, for the prestige factor, just
Sure.
because it's a fantastic bourbon. If it's actually, I don't know if it's actually worth $150, but I don't know much of what is. I would still get one because it's
Yeah,
a
if you look
great,
at
great
comparisons,
drinker.
so I mean, I know retail on like the Van Winkle 12 or the Lot B or the old Rip Van Winkle 10-year-old. Retail's probably 60 to 80, but I mean, a lot of stores are charging 150.
Right,
so
yeah.
if you compare this to that, I mean, it might be more prestigious to say, hey, I've got a bottle of Pappy, which is not really Pappy
Yeah.
till 15, but
this
than
is
saying
better.
than
Oh,
saying
but this
this
is
this
much
is
better.
better.
Listen,
It
I
tastes
this
better.
tastes a lot better.
That's what I'm
Pappy.
saying. Like,
don't like
well,
Pappy.
maybe not. I think Pappy 1520 is pretty fantastic, and rye. The rye is just
The rye is
insane.
really good,
but
yeah.
so I think I'd buy it for 150. What about secondary at 250 plus?
I don't
no,
think
not-
I don't think I do
Okay.
that.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I might if I mean again, I'm going through a ball over 5 years. So I mean,
I guess
If I
you do
was-
the math that way.
If I was a huge Blanton's fan or the guy
not.
out there that's
Yeah.
just like, oh, I got to have these horses.
But that tasted really good.
That's really good.
That's great.
There's guys
That
out there
was,
that probably has Blanton
you got
collection.
you got a pretty big pour there, Jeff. That's $50 if you don't mind. Just pay me.
I'll
Venmo.
pay you in,
you can Venmo.
Can you
it's
pay him in
fine.
Dogecoin?
Can I pay you in love?
No.
pay you in Ethereum?
I will pay you in teaching.
He couldn't even finish that statement. He's like, I
Keep a straight face.
There's like
more to it.
There's no straight. There's no
And I
straight
thought,
answer.
you know what? I kind of finished it.
I'm just going to leave it at teaching. I'm going to leave it at teaching. Screw it. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll end our episode there before Jeff gets too wild.